Well, Razorback fans, the man himself, Bobby Petrino, spoke to the media today talking about his Razorback offense, how much better it is, especially on the offensive line. Starting to get me excited, and it will you too. So let's talk about on today's Locked On Razorbacks podcast.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I am your host, John Nabors. I am also the host of Inside Arkansas Live, which you can catch every weekday starting at noon on Inside Arkansas and InsideArkansas.com. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control with your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Hope everybody's having a wonderful Wednesday, as we're going to talk a lot about the Razorback offense because Bobby Petrino got to meet with the media, and you know how excited I get to hear from old Bobby. So we'll have a couple things to talk about, mainly dealing with a wide receiver, getting into the offensive line, and even something from Fernando Carmona that was pretty funny that he did on Feinbaum just a couple days ago. But we'll get into all of that. But folks, I wanted to really talk about the offensive line for Arkansas, and it's crucial. It's important. And obviously with Petrino and the offense that he has, because we'll kind of utilize this as a whole topic about Bobby Petrino here at Arkansas. It comes down to that. It comes down to the offensive line. And as I talked about the other day, it doesn't matter how good of a quarterback you have, how good of wide receivers you have. None of that matters. It's all about the offensive line and how much it's improved. And so Bobby Petrino was asked specifically about the biggest difference between his offense a year ago and this year's offense, whether it's talking about the mentality or just him as a coach. It was up for him to decide how he was going to answer this question. And it's a little bit of a lengthy clip, but it's worth hearing as we get to hear from Bobby Petrino saying, hey, offensive line, yeah, biggest difference.
Yeah, I mean, it starts with the offensive line. I feel like way more comfortable with the offensive line. You know, our size, our strength, our athletic ability. We got a couple centers that are, we got three centers right now that are rotating in there playing really well. One's a true freshman that's, extremely, extremely talented. So I feel good about where we are at center position. The tackles are doing a really nice job. We do have competition at the right tackle, E. Harris and Shaq, and E. Harris has gained weight. He's much stronger and more physical than he was a year ago. A year ago, he really wasn't tackle size. He went from 285 to 310, I think, when he weighed in. And you're seeing that strength on the field. Kobe and Blackstock at the right guard are in good competition. It'd be fun to watch and see how that plays out. And then I feel really steady about our left side with Junior and Corey over there. So Corey's a really, really good football player, and Junior's at the right spot. Sometimes that tackle and his aggressive nature, his personality, is more suited for a guard than out there on the edge. And it's been fun to watch. I feel like we have a really strong tight end group, with our ability to run block and catch the football. Andreas has improved tremendously since a year ago. A year ago at this time, he didn't even know what a play was, what the playbook was. And he responded well to competition, instead of shying away from it, he's made himself better. And Platt's an extremely, extremely talented young man, the size and speed you want at a tight end in this conference. And then Rohan can, he has the ability to block like we need him to, but he can really run, and the speed he has at that position changes things a little bit. His ability to get downfield and go. So the front seven, is way better than we were a year ago.
Okay, so Bobby Petrino, again, was asked the generic question about what is different and maybe what's better. And he goes into the offensive line, position by position, group by group, and really blows it up as far as like, hey, this is what we got here. He talks about the center position, saying they have three guys that are really good there and that are able to rotate. The Cash kid, the true freshman even, was brought up and how good he has looked. The Amarian Harris side of things with him and Blackstock, at that guard position, what's that going to look like? They're battling it out a little bit. Then you got the Kobe Branham situation with him. I guess sorry, Blackstock and Kobe Branham, and then also Marion Harris there on the outside. So it's looking like that is starting to come together. And he brought up the other side of the line. It's great. It's pretty much settled. Carmona's at the guard position, which is awesome, and what he feels like it's the most comfortable for him. And for his personality, I like what he brought up. He's like, for the aggressive nature, needs to be more of a guard. And then Corey Robinson. Corey Robinson might be the guy that I think from the transfer portal, everybody kind of felt like it was going to be him, and he's going to start. And he's just been there, not in a bad way, but just I think they've been able to count on him. He's the starter, no questions asked. He's that guy. So it's good to hear about all of that. The Carmona thing, going back to that with his personality, those are the things you really don't think about. You don't think about the personality that a player has and if it fits them on the offensive line at one position or the other. Because as far as aggressive nature or how he is, which we all know kind of how he is, I've never looked at, okay, well, that personality fits better at guard than it would tackle. I've never thought of that, but that's my Petrino is Petrino. He looks into those things. And he also went into, as far as the offensive line goes, also into the tight end position. Brought up a lot of those guys. So when asked about what's better, what's improved, what's different, offensive line and tight end, he feels so much better about. Now, that automatically, again, makes me feel tremendous about the offense and the current setup that they have. Not to say it's going to be perfect, but if you have Bobby Petrino coming out and saying, hey, it's the offensive line, night and day, it's completely different, so much better than what it was a year ago, I love that because we've been hearing it from Taylon Green. We've heard it from Eric Mateos. We've heard it from Sam Pittman. It's starting to get the consistency of, hey, this is not just something that's getting thrown out and saying, no, we're better, totally. It's something to where it's like, all right, this has some truth behind it. This is an O-line that is ready to roll. Because some people may bring up, well, how do you know that that's just not meaning the offensive line is dominating a bad defensive line? Like the O-line is just average, but the D-line is horrible. Well, my response to that would be, I'm going to give Bobby Petrino the benefit of the doubt because I would think that a coach like him, who's been an offense coordinator and an offensive mind forever and has coached at different levels, he would have a good idea of the difference between the two. He would know if it's about his offensive line not being that good, but they're just beating out a bad defensive line. I think he would know the difference. So I'm going to give him that respect and that credit there for him and on his side of things too. But going into the tight end position, it's a completely different room. And I think some people have looked at it as, okay, well, you had some really good tight ends last year. One of them's playing at Ole Miss and Luke Haslam's playing at Ty Washington and Notre Dame, or one of them's playing at Notre Dame and Ty Washington. You have, some missing pieces there. And how is this all going to play out? It kept coming back to the blocking side of things, saying that these are guys that can get involved in the pass, but it kept being mentioned of blocking, which to me, maybe I'm diving into it way too much, but this is all about Taylon Green. It's all about Taylon Green. And not just Taylon Green's physical abilities, because we know it's there. It's what's upstairs. And what is one of the most, if not the most important thing to do for the mentality of your starting quarterback? What is the most important thing you got to make sure you have more than anything and providing him to be able to get the most out of him? Confidence. Confidence in the offensive line, confidence in the tight ends, confidence in the receivers, confidence in the offensive coordinator, but most importantly, confidence in himself. And I brought it up just here last week. I think last year with that offensive line and just the blocking in general, there was no trust. And with no trust from Taylon Green comes no confidence. That Texas A&M game changed a lot. I think it changed a lot of things on the offense because if you don't have that, then it's hard to get it back. So hearing all of those things and about the pass protection and how important it is and how crucial it is for Arkansas to be able to do it and to be able to have it is, it's a good sign. It's a really good sign. Doesn't mean it's going to be perfect, but it's a good sign for me because we only know what we know. And what we know is that we've heard from Bobby, we've heard from everybody that Taylon Green is great, but he's got to have trust. He's got to have quarterback capabilities to, rely on those guys for getting them and helping them out. And that also includes the tight end position because even in the running back position, it's always been brought up of their pass protection and who's really good at it. Mike Washington, one of the billion things he's amazing at, apparently. Pass protection is definitely one of them. So it comes to this before we move on to the wide receivers and everything there. It comes down to this of the job that Bobby Petrino has done. I mean, again, all of you know, I'm a Bobby Petrino fan. But the reason being of me being a Bobby Petrino fan, it doesn't stem from just my nostalgia of him being the head coach at Arkansas and how great it was and how much fun it was. Yes, that's part of it, obviously. But what it also comes back to is just me having trust in him. That no matter what the situation is, no matter what players and team he has, you know you're going to have a coach that is meticulous for the details and is going to have his quarterback ready, his backup quarterback ready, his wide receivers in check. He's going to have the play calling and ready to roll. He's going to have it in those moments and in those times and in everything. I just feel like he's always going to be prepared. And because of that fact, that's why I feel like he's done a really solid job at Arkansas so far. This is going to be his second year as the offensive coordinator. And last year, there's no doubt that the offense took tremendous strides forward in the right direction, which is funny to me because it didn't, take much. The offense before that was just god awful. So, but they had to take those steps forward. And with Bobby, it's been good. It's been good, but it can be even better this year. It can take those next steps. But what it sounds like from Petrino and from everybody, it's about protection for Talon. And it feels and sounds like Talon is going to have as much protection this year as he needs to make it work. But let's be honest, he also has to have people to throw the ball to. Is he going to have that this year? Well, we'll get into the wide receiver side of things and hear from Bobby Petrino in a second. So stay with us here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. All right, Razorback fans, most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's a 401k or property or investment. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all of your accounts in minutes, and you can also see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without even ever touching a spreadsheet. There's going to be a lot of things too that you could link your accounts and try to figure out what subscriptions you need to certain services that you're not needing anymore, and you can just cancel them immediately. There's going to be things that you will find out when it comes to maybe you having a partner and the finances that you have combined and what you could do and settling it a little bit easier to make it work best, not only for you, but for each other and getting the most out of your money. That's what Monarch Money is going to help you with. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONCollege. All right, so moving on into the next segment of the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. So, again, we talked about Petrino and the offensive line and how he feels confident about it. And, I'll also say and make the joke, Bobby in the press conference yesterday was very funny, smiling a lot, making some jokes. I don't know if I like that. My shirt says, I like the BMFP. I like that guy. That guy is really what it's about. But listen, I don't care if he's smiling or not. It's just weird because I'm used to him being such a militant jerk, which is what I love. So, but hey, listen, maybe it means confidence. Maybe it means he's got a little bit of swagger to him again. Maybe he's feeling good about the situation they're in. I guess time will tell. But either way, Bobby Petrino was asked about the wide receivers because, as we've talked about, the wide receiver position is fascinating. You had to replace pretty much everybody from a year ago. O'Mega Blake is the guy that you probably feel best about the transfers of all transfers coming in at wide receiver. But then you have guys that have been mentioned a lot, say for someone like a C.J. Brown or Jalen Brown. What's their situation? What about a Raylan Sharp? What is he going to play into the mix? Then you got the people like a true freshman Antonio Jordan, which has been getting a lot of pub. What about the transfer of Courtney Crutchfield? Who's doing all that? There's just a lot of questions dealing with the wide receiver and who's going to step up. Now, this clip is a little lengthy, I'm going to be honest, but I think it's important to kind of play, and as Bobby Petrino, the offense coordinator, goes through all the wide receivers and lays out exactly what it looks like, as well as what needs to happen or what's special about each individual, because I think it's really telling as far as what they believe is going to be happening with the wide receiver position this season. So let's take a listen.
It's a good problem. There's great competition. They're competing to get reps with the ones and reps with the twos. They're competing to get out there. So I think it's a good problem. We do need to, as we work through here the next 2.5 weeks, we need to find out who wants to be the go-to guy and who we're going to count on. And but it's really been good competition, at the X receiver spot. Blake's done a really nice job. He's way ahead of where he was in spring and playing fast and precise. He's got good hands, so he can make great catches, and he's got to be consistent and not drop the easy ones. That's just concentration. Monte's a different guy. One of the things that showed up with him is the testing from summer. When you look at his height, weight, speed, vertical jump, all these things are off the charts for a receiver, and you go, man, we got to get this guy the ball. And so we made a conscious effort at doing it, and he's responded great to it. He had the most yards receiving in the scrimmage the other day, and made 2 really good catches and runs after the catch. So that was really good to see with him. At the Z spot, C.J. Brown has been doing a really good job. He's playing both outside and inside, and that helps us a lot because his experience, he understands the offense better than anybody out there. When you run the GPS and everyone sprints as hard as they can, CJ's faster than any of them. So he caught a really nice post route yesterday morning for a touchdown, which was great to see. But he also has such quick feet that he's good inside. And like I said, he knows the offense better. Sharp's had some good days, and I want him to play faster than he's been playing. He relies a little bit too much on his quickness, and unfortunately holding is interpreted different ways, and he's got to be able to come off the ball and go, not just sit there and dance around, or he's going to get held and they're not going to call it. That's just how it is. That's the nature of the position that he's in that slot receiver. I haven't seen a lot of Shanks. I wish we would, but he's he's had a little nicked up, and he was out there today full speed for the whole practice, which was good to see. So, we still learning about him. Cross has done a really nice job. He's so strong in the lower body, and he's improved his strength. He's made a lot of catches and a lot of runs after the catch. His challenge is to really know the playbook and not make a mental error. And when he can do that, then he's going to be in there making plays for us. Jay Brown is the fastest guy out there. He just keeps getting better with the understanding and his quickness and going. Our big freshman has got unbelievable talent. He's got to learn the style of the SEC and know how to go full speed every play, but that'll come with maturity. He's a competitive guy, and he's shown the talent to make a lot of plays for us. His hasn't quite learned that I have to go full speed every single play and go. Andy Jean's a guy with good ability, and we've liked how he runs after the catch and his route running. So like I said, it's really good competition out there. I hope I didn't forget anybody. Crutchfield's come along. Crutches, when he first got here, he was so out of shape that it was like, man, is this guy ever going to be able to play for us? And then he lost 15 pounds, I think it was, in between spring ball and now. And he's faster, and he's competitive. He needs to get in the playbook, make sure he doesn't make any mental errors. But the last 3 days, it was great to see him make plays. He had a great play in the scrimmage, caught a ball, broke a tackle, ran it in for a 30-some yard touchdown. So it was really nice to see that. So we do have a lot of guys there and a lot of competition, but it'll play itself out. We just got to keep working them, and they got to keep getting better.
Okay, so I know that was a really long clip, and but that was Bobby talking for an entire time. Bobby doesn't talk a whole lot. It's over 4 minutes of that. But I wanted to lay it out just because of the fact that everybody's got these questions about wide receiver. and about who's stepping up. Again, I've listed them even before. Oh, what's Antonio Jordan? What's his situation? Courtney Crutchfield, what's his situation? And it's like, and I appreciate Bobby just coming out and be like, here's all of them. This is what's going on. And that tells me, one, that of course goes back to the meticulous details that he has where every single player he sees and identifies, okay, is this a guy that's doing great and we love him? Is this a guy that has this particular strength? Is it because he's really fast? Does this guy need to work on the playbook? Does this guy need to lose weight, drop weight, whatever it is? It was very specific to each one of them. But that's what I love hearing. I love hearing that there's an identifying of what each of them are able to offer and utilizing that. But it looks like, as far as C.J. Brown, I think, of course, a guy like O'Mega Blake is going to be, in there into the mix and be one of their go-to guys. And some of the guys have been moving around. Some guys have been dinged up. But it's just great to hear a coach go into the specifics of the offense and how awesome that was. So, again, I think he's a great coach in general, but the wide receivers are always something that you have to be on your next level game. I think he's going to do a great job with them this year. Let's go. I want to hear this from Fernando Carmona. Some people had reactions to this, but I think it's just really funny. We'll play that clip and have some reaction to it. So stay with us here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. All right, Razorback fans, I got to tell you this about the Fernando Carmona deal here on the final segment of the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I love Fernando. We heard and talked a little bit about him as far as his personality and all of that. And he was a guy that is known for being very aggressive. He's just an aggressive by nature player, and it's what makes him really good. Well, he had the opportunity to go on the Paul Feinbaum show a couple days ago, and it just kind of triggered a lot of people's reactions. Maybe not Razorback fans, but just maybe to some Texas Tech fans because of what happened into what was the Liberty Bowl last year. But either way, I want to play this from talking because Paul Feinbaum just lays it out. He's like, hey, is there holding on every play? Because it's something I've been fascinated by too. So here's this clip.
There's this cliche. It's older than me, which is hard to believe, but that there's holding on every single play. I'm not asking you to out you, but what's the fine line between doing your job legally and not?
Yeah, no, there's definitely holding each and every play, but I'm also a believer that if you're not trying to cheat, you're not trying to try. And so,
I like that, by the way.
As an offensive lineman, you got to hold, you got to tug a little bit, but you got to do it in a way where the refs don't see it. And I think all offensive linemen can attest that, it happens each and every play. It's just about if you're sneaky with it and if you're able to, get your hands inside, they won't call it.
Some guys would have come on here and said, "Oh no, we follow the rules." I got to admire you. I mean, you have to be must have a big fan club all around the state because you are a straight shooter, and I think I know where you get it from, Pops back at home.
Definitely. He taught me young, and that's just how I am.
So I just again the ending there wasn't really what I was wanting to talk about because that is cool, but still. As far as I love the honesty and I love the fact that like Carmona is the type that is very brutally honest about everything. And, saying that if, how we put it, where it's like, it's not the whole cliche of if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. It's like, if you ain't trying to cheat, that you're not trying to try. I love that. And it's like, that's the mentality that sometimes I feel like you want to see from players in general, even if they believe it, but to hear them say it, it just kind of shows that it's a competitive nature of trying to do whatever it takes to win. Not to do anything too bad, but to push the envelope a little bit because that's what really a lot of cases the game of football and just sports in general when it comes to the rules and everything it's just a matter of okay, what can I get away with? How can I get away with this? How can I get away with this hold? People may take this the wrong way. I think it's great. I think it's fine. It's up to the officials to call it, and that's why I'm always mad at the officials. Not mad at the players for the opposing team getting away with a hold. I'm mad at the officials not calling it. So I get it. It's a great mentality to have. It's why Carmona is really great at what he does and his approach to everything. And it just makes me immediately think, I'm like, all right, so if he gets called for holding this year, then it's probably going to mean that he was. It's just going to be honest with you. But hey, as long as he is very subtle with it, is able to get by with it, not cause any problems with it, then I'm all for it. And I can't wait for the season to start. Appreciate each and every one of you listening in and watching into the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or on Google Play. You can also get after me on Twitter at John Nabors Show for any questions, comments, concerns that you may have. Keep it going from there. Same podcast time, same podcast channel tomorrow afternoon. Have a great day, everybody. See you then.